Last time Rick Neuheisel was on, Pac-12 Network analyst and, of course, former head football coach, he gave us, I thought, a great song. It was a Johnny Manziel Heisman tribute song. And you know what? Rick promised an encore performance. Let me bring you, let's sample what he did last time before we bring on Rick Neuheisel.
Out in the Badlands they call College Station lived a young Aggie named Johnny Manziel. Football and life to him were a bull ride. He rode them both like a bat out of hell. He shocked the nation by beating the best, flattening out the tide. The Heisman came calling, the agents came crawling, but through it all, Johnny football did right. Now our young Aggie's no longer a hero. He was a target of public disdain. Sing it with me, boys. Another victim of fame and fortune.
So that was the last appearance by Rick Neuheisel. So when I texted him and I said, you want to come on? We got a couple of big games Thursday night. And he said, I've got an encore. So before we get to the encore, Rick, let's talk about tonight's games. You want to go Baylor, Oklahoma, or Stanford, Oregon to start?
Well, you know, I'm a West Coast guy, Dan.
Okay.
And by the way, as I listened to that song again,
yeah.
Football and life to him were a bull ride. He rode them both like a bat out of hell. Does that not kind of sum up your life too, Dan?
Well, Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf, of course, one of my favorite albums.
I just kind of see you as a guy that's full throttle at all times. The Danettes are just along for the ride. They look like they're in the back seat of a convertible with their hair just completely at warp speed, and I think your listeners just enjoy that ride as well.
Well, thank you, Rick. Now let's talk.
Tonight's game here on the West Coast on the farm at Stanford is going to be not only one of the biggest games of the season, maybe one of the biggest game of the season, given that these are two of three programs that have been to BCS bowl games each of the last 3 years, the other being Wisconsin. But it's also a clash of cultures in terms of, you know, Jim Harbaugh brought this tough guy mantra to Stanford, and we're going to play you in a phone booth and we're going to beat your brains in. And Oregon is the very, very best at spreading you out and saying we're faster than you, we're better conditioned than you, and we're going to exhaust you. You're not going to be able to survive 60 minutes with us. And so to me, not only is it the game of the century West, it also is very interesting football. And I think over the last couple of years, they figured each other out. This is going to be a defensive game. As much as we love talking about the offenses and what they do to you and wear you out, defensively is where they've kind of brought down the hammer. And I'm excited to watch the chess match the coaches are going to play, trying to figure out how to flip the field and get short fields and take advantage of the other. So it should be a classic game.
And then you, by the way, have Baylor against Oklahoma. I'm not sure how good Baylor is. I'm fascinated by what Art Briles has done there. Talk about this isn't rebuilding.
They're basically Oregon Midwest. They have gotten this spread offense down to a T. And like Oregon, they start with the run. You have to stop Lake Seastrunk tonight before you do anything else. And I think Bob Stoops and Mike Stoops understand that. And I think they're good enough to stop the run. The question is, once they do that, can they neutralize Bryce Petty as he throws to those talented guys outside and make the one-on-one tackles? Because what you're left with once you commit to stopping the run is tackling in space, and that'll be the question for both Stanford and Oklahoma tonight.
More likely to get a blowout, Baylor, Oklahoma, or Oregon, Stanford?
Wow. You know what? I would say more likely the Baylor game, just because they have shown it. I think if you watch over the tail of the tape, so to speak, in these last two games in Stanford, Oregon has been, both teams have been about 400 yards. While they average about 550 against the rest of the world, against each other, they've kind of figured each other out. This is they know how to stop the run, and so it's left to the throwing game to produce the big plays. And I think you got to give the edge to Mariota there.
Saban story, you buying it?
I think the country in the SEC, they are so proud of their programs there that the country believes that Nick Saban is the be-all, end-all. And when 60 Minutes comes to town and does the story and shows the absolute attention to detail, everybody's kind of into it. This story out there now with Texas is the only job that he'd consider. That's unique timing. But, I think Alabama is certainly the class of the SEC, and I think the country's really excited about Alabama playing against one of these fast, up-tempo teams to decide once and for all, or at least to have it on the biggest stage as to which is the supreme culture.
Where do you think he'll be next year?
Where do I think Nick Saban will be?
Yep.
Oh, Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
Texas would bring him with lots of fancy stuff. Last I saw, Alabama's got lots of that fancy stuff too.
USC job. Who would be your number one candidate?
I think when you look at USC, you're going to want somebody that understands all that there is to do about it, but I think also has some NFL ties. I'm hearing lots of names around the NFL. I would say that a guy like Kevin Sumlin, to me, might be the perfect choice. If Kevin Sumlin could be pried out of Texas A&M, he likes to, move the ball, and he's had good quarterbacks wherever he's been. He's certainly a charismatic guy. L.A. wouldn't be a problem for him. He wouldn't look at that as a negative. He'd enjoy the sunshine and the pomp and circumstance that surrounds USC.
What about Gruden?
I think John Gruden would be fantastic. He'd just have to get a really good recruiting staff around him. I think if Gruden really wanted that job, I think he'd be phenomenal. You got
an encore performance? What's the song about?
Well, as we talk about these games, it dawns on me that the SEC right now tonight will be rooting hard for both Stanford and for Oklahoma.
Okay.
And I don't think it should be that way. But then as I start to think about it, we cannot blame them for what they do. You know why, Dan?
Why is that, Rick?
Because they were born in the SEC. Hang on for a second.
All right, here we go. Rick Neuheisel grabbing his axe.
Born in the SEC, they were born in the SEC. Don't make them think about it logically. They were born in the SEC, yeah. I grew up loving the Crimson Tide, shed a tear the day Bear died. Sure am loving Coach Nicky, he's right. I like my football Southern pride, yeah. Born in the SEC, born in the SEC. Mike's life's like God to me. I was born in the SEC. My daddy's daddy, well, he loved his dogs. My mama's family used to call them hogs. My baby sister thinks we all hate her. She thinks it's great to be a Florida Gator. We were born in the SEC, born in the SEC. The Manning boys and their dad Archie, they were born in the SEC. The ACC can't play no D. The Big 10 and 12 are wannabes. The Pac-12 is just late night TV. We've got more crystal than Tiffany's, yeah. Born in the SEC. We've got the Grove and the Hottie Toddy. We've got the real Death Valley. Can I get a little more cowbell, please? We were born in the SEC.
How about the checkerboards of Tennessee? We've even got our own USC. We bought the Aggies and Missouri. Born in the SEC. In Toomer's Corner, we'll throw TP. For the smart kids, we have Bandy. When it's hoops season, we've got Kentucky. Born in the SEC. Born in the SEC. We just need more love from our Mandy P. 'Cause we're born in the SEC.
Wow.
You can't blame them. You can't blame them.
Wow.
Hate them not for what they do, for they know no other way.
That's a walk-off. That's a walk-off for you. Well done. You can see Rick Saturday alongside Mike Yam, Curtis Conway, Jeremy Bloom, part of the Pac-12 Network College Football Saturday studio coverage. And Rick, Mike, and Ronnie Lott break down all the action. Pac-12 games, Sundays at 9 Pacific on the Pac-12 playbook. Great to talk to you again, buddy.
Always my pleasure, my friend.
All right, work on that encore to the encore when it comes around to bowl
you
season.
You keep riding life like a bull ride, okay?
Thank you, bud. That's Rick Neuheisel. Wow. That's good stuff.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.